Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy this content, please hit that subscribe button right now.
No one saw this coming, and that's precisely why it has sent a quiet shockwave through the Blue Jays fanbase. Just when the offseason felt like it had settled into an uneasy holding pattern, a fresh report emerged from a well-connected insider that has shifted the ground beneath everyone's feet. Suddenly, Toronto are being linked to a starting pitcher few expected to even enter the conversation, and the implications stretch far beyond a single signing. This is the kind of development that doesn't just affect the next few weeks of free agency, but could reshape decisions in the next 48 hours. So settle in, because by the end of this video, the landscape may look very different, and if you're enjoying this sort of deep dive coverage, make sure you like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what comes next. There is a particular tension that creeps into every baseball offseason around this point, when silence becomes louder than headlines and every rumor feels heavier than the last. The Blue Jays are firmly in that space right now, waiting, watching, and quietly maneuvering. According to a translated report circulating from a Japanese insider, Toronto are among a small group of clubs showing interest in Tatsuya, a 27-year-old right-hander whose numbers overseas read like something lifted from a video game. A sub-2 earned run average across more than 160 innings is enough to make any front office lean forward in their chair, yet this is not a straightforward courtship. The report suggests that while the Jays are intrigued, they are also cautious, wary of committing to a long-term, large-scale deal without absolute certainty. That caution tells us almost as much as the interest itself. This front office has shown time and again that it values stability and projection over pure excitement, and Imai represents both promise and risk in equal measure. His posting window is ticking, with a deadline looming at Friday evening Eastern Time, and the clock itself feels like a character in this story, tapping its foot impatiently in the corner. Other teams, notably the White Sox, are said to be leading the race, while the Phillies and Jays circle thoughtfully rather than charging headlong. It raises the question of whether Toronto's name appearing in this report is genuine intent or strategic noise, the kind Scott Boras has mastered over decades to inflate a market. Still, it would be a mistake to dismiss this entirely as smoke and mirrors. Imai's profile explains why teams are at least doing their due diligence. His pitching style has drawn comparisons to Max Scherzer, not in personality perhaps, but in approach. He attacks hitters relentlessly, leaning heavily on a fastball-slider combination that overwhelms right-hand batters. More than 90% of his pitches to righties last season fell into that two-pitch mix, and when your fastball can climb into the upper 90s and occasionally flirt with triple digits, you can afford to be that direct. There is a certain romance in imagining that Arsenal transplanted to a major league mound, under the bright lights, with Pete Walker watching closely from the dugout. Yet romance has to be balanced with realism, and this is where Toronto's hesitation makes sense. The Blue Jays already have significant money committed to their rotation, and it is not getting any younger. Kevin Gausman is entering the final year of his deal, Jose Berrios has an option looming, and while Dylan Cease brings durability and certainty, the long-term picture remains cloudy. Adding Imai could be a bold attempt to bridge eras, perhaps even flirting with a six-man rotation to manage workloads and future-proof the staff. But that kind of vision comes at a cost, and history is littered with examples of overseas stars who took time to adjust, or never fully did. This is where the next 48 hours becomes so fascinating. Toronto haven't reportedly put concrete terms on the table yet, which suggests they are still weighing how far they are willing to go. The front office's philosophy has been clear in recent moves: prioritize pitchers who can give you 30 starts and soak up innings. Imai is electric, but unproven at this level, and handing out a contract worth hundreds of millions would be a leap of faith. If the Jays do step forward with a serious offer, it would signal a willingness to embrace volatility in pursuit of upside, a slight but meaningful shift in approach. While that storyline simmers, the rest of the roster continues to hum with unresolved questions. The bullpen, in particular, remains a work in progress. Another name has come off the board with Kirby Yates heading to the Angels, a move that felt more inevitable than disappointing. Toronto have danced with reclamation projects before, sometimes successfully, sometimes not, and Yates always felt like a calculated gamble rather than a priority. His departure narrows the field, but it also clarifies the options still available, and there are plenty of arms that could make sense in blue. Sir Anthony Dominguez stands out as a familiar face who could stabilize late innings, while left-handed options like Justin Wilson and Andrew Chafin bring matchup flexibility that this bullpen sorely needs. Danny Colombe remains an intriguing name as well, particularly given Toronto's ongoing search for balance from the left side. With the calendar turning and the market still crowded, it feels increasingly likely that a flurry of bullpen deals will break the silence, and when one domino falls, others tend to follow quickly. This is the moment when patience can turn into opportunity. Hovering over all of this, like a shadow just out of frame, are the two biggest offensive storylines of the winter, Bichette and Tucker. Reports continue to suggest that Toronto are deeply involved on both fronts, with internal priorities perhaps leaning toward Bichette but eyes firmly fixed on Tucker as the potential franchise-altering addition. Some insiders have hinted that Bichette's market could move first, setting the tone for what follows, while others insist that clarity on Tucker will arrive sooner rather than later. Either way, the waiting game is reaching its climax, and it would be wise to stay subscribed, because when news breaks here, it tends to break fast. Amid the speculation and star-chasing, it's easy to overlook the quieter internal options that could shape the roster just as profoundly. Ricky Tiedemann is one such name, a prospect whose talent has never been in doubt, even as injuries have slowed his ascent. There is a growing argument to be made that his future impact might come sooner, and perhaps differently, than originally planned. With his high-octane fastball, sharp slider, and ability to overwhelm hitters, Tiedemann could conceivably step into a bullpen role and become a weapon almost immediately. In a relief setting, his stuff could play up even further, giving Toronto a dominant left-handed option without spending a penny on the open market. That possibility adds another layer to the Jays' calculus. If internal arms can fill key roles, it frees resources to be more aggressive elsewhere, whether that's a bold swing at a starter like Imai or a blockbuster move for an elite bat. It also speaks to a broader organizational confidence, a belief that development and patience can coexist with ambition. The Blue Jays are not simply waiting for the market to dictate their moves, they are actively shaping scenarios, holding multiple threads in their hands at once. As we approach the end of the year and the threshold of 2026, the sense of anticipation is unmistakable. Free agency feels like a storm about to break, with dark clouds gathering but no rain just yet. One unexpected report has reminded everyone that surprises are still very much on the table, and that Toronto's plans may be more expansive than previously assumed. Whether the Jays ultimately land Tatsuya Imai or merely use his market as a measuring stick, the fact they are even mentioned signals intent. So now the stage is set. The next few days could bring clarity on the rotation, resolution in the bullpen, and long-awaited answers on Bichette and Tucker. When it finally happens, it will feel less like a single transaction and more like the culmination of weeks of quiet maneuvering. If you've enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like the video, share it with fellow fans, and subscribe to stay locked in as the story unfolds. The off-season may be long, but moments like this make every second worth the wait.